got to put. I had to make sure that my hair was in place. We don't need a. Like I'm trying to compete with him. He got the beard thing going on. I got to make sure my hair looks good. But anyway, appreciate you guys joining us here and talk a little bit about our trip. I said before we left, this was a very important trip for us because we have so many new guys that we are trying to integrate into our system. This is probably basically the youngest team, or the most inexperienced team that we've had in a long, long time. The players who have been with me 2 years have more experience within our system than the rest of the guys. And we have a few of those. I think we have 4 guys that are returning. Some of our walk-ons have been with us a while. So this has been a different approach for us this summer. Most of the time in the spring and the summer, we fine-tune our offense because we spend so much time on our defense in the fall. But this year, we've found it necessary to put a little press offense, in zone offense, out of bounds plays. We've even worked on a little zone defense, just trying to put out a few more things in so that at least when we come back in the fall, it will be somewhat familiar with things that we think have been important to us over the years. With as many new guys as we have, we look forward to playing it, going on this tour because it gave us a chance to kind of play against someone else and get a feel for each other and strengths and weaknesses of our team. I've seen a lot of things I like. One, I think we have the potential to be a pretty good scoring team. Obviously, from the stats, you'll probably see that Caleb and Green, Green probably have been our 2 leading scorers, but Green now is coming in as a junior transfer from Central Florida, a little more experience, and Caleb transferring in from the University of Houston probably have a little more experience, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're a little more efficient. I've seen each player on the team probably have enough moments that I'm encouraged about the individual skills and talents that they have on the team. Now, we still struggling trying to find the right balance. We have 3 guys we can rotate in the post, Naheem McLeod and Gainey, along with Cameron Cohen from Dallas. Cam basically plays some perimeter and interior, which is important because he has a lot of versatility. But I think they all are very capable of contributing in the ways that we need them to. And we found it difficult to get them as involved in our system as we would like to. Those of you who have been around our program for a while know that how important our postmen are to our system. A lot of people utilize their point guards to initiate things. We use our post guys to initiate a lot. They set a lot of ball screens. They pick and pop and do a lot of dribble handoffs. They set a lot of different kinds of screens, side screens, step-up screens, re-angle screens, they even go slip screens, and then to kind of give us a different type of offensive system. And so those guys are asked to do things that they have not been able to do in the past. Most of them have been post to post, block to block type of guys. With the exception of Cameron, and he's kind of more of a pick and pop, League Osmond kind of 5-man and 4-5, 5-4. So that was a little challenging for us. The pace that we like to play at, especially offensively and defensively, we were able to integrate that into our system almost to a fault. I guess we played the 6th, the 8th, and the 10th. And we had several guys that were a little dehydrated when the game started last night. Naheem had the effects of it, so did Cam Fletcher. They all were, excuse me, they were all somewhat dehydrated last night, and so weren't quite at their best, but that was a good situation for them to be in, to learn how to play under a little bit of stress. And so for the most part, I've been pleased. A lot of things I like, but I also think we had a chance to kind of see a lot of the things that we need to work on in order for us to be a fine-tuned machine once the season starts.
Take a question from Lane Hurt first.
Coach, how significant is it that you get this, not only do you get this head start in offensively and defensively, but you get to do it in game situations? And what does that allow you to do moving forward when you do start actual practice later this fall?
What I think is most important thing is that they get a chance to play against some pretty good competition. You know, it was probably mid-level ACC type play, which was good for us. I'm not real sure we could have played against maybe a national team like we did when we played against Greece. We're not experienced enough to do that. But these teams challenged us enough. Well, defensively, we had to really be on our game because they all could really shoot the ball very well. They were sound fundamentally, so they challenged us on the defensive end. And offensively, they gave us just enough challenge for us to see what we could do and implement our system, and what the effects would be, the outcome would be when we're doing it well. We also saw some areas where we need to improve on. So I can't say enough about the opportunity and how much this has meant to us to know a little bit more about who we are and know what it's like to play against someone different for the 3 games. And plus we also had a scrimmage that we went against Clarion. And so that was good for us. So we had 4 really activities in the 8 days we were here. So I think that it was a good opportunity for us.
Go to Carter from Tallahassee.
Hi, Leonard. So you mentioned just kind of the new faces, young team, right? What does a trip like this do for the camaraderie? Do you feel like that there was just a lot more team bonding, having them in different country, different environment all together for this period of time?
I'm sure it did, but we have such good connected players. Our culture is really good. I think it's more of the same than what we experienced. I mean, I think this, I'm not real sure that enhanced it, but our guys really seem to have a good chemistry amongst themselves. They seem to really get along. They have bought into our system, sharing the ball, sharing playing time. Those things have always been the theme of our program. But this has been more of a business trip than it has been, let's say, sometimes we go places where we do a lot of sightseeing, and we've done a little bit of that, being in the capital, there in Ottawa, and the day they went ziplining, I think that's what you call it. So they've taken a couple of minor trips, but this has been more of a business trip. And I've been interested in that we've had so many activities in a short period of time, it's been a little taxing on us. So they've found out a little bit of an idea what it's like to be in a tournament type atmosphere, and, where you don't have a whole lot of game preparation, that you got to kind of go with, what you've been working on in practice. So from that standpoint, I think that we've learned a lot. Just spending some time together and hanging out, but this has been kind of a working trip now. This hasn't been like maybe we went to Jamaica and we went out deep sea fishing and did some swimming and went to some cultural events and some beach time. We didn't have a whole lot of time for that. This was kind of a learning experience, some film sessions, some pretty good games, getting a lot of people on the court, different combinations of guys on the floor at the same time. This has been I guess you call it a working trip, as opposed to the type of normal thing where you can plan a lot of activities, where you can take a lot of pictures and do a lot of things that you probably go back in memory and will be in your memory forever. This was a working trip that I'm hoping that we got a lot out of. I know I got a much better feel for the strengths, and unfortunately I saw some weaknesses in some areas that we got to we got to work hard to develop.
Go to Kurt Weiler from the Osceola.
Leonard, you tell me you didn't join them on the zip lining?
No, I didn't. I've been on the phone. You know?
Seriously, you talked about Darren. Obviously, I think you knew the kind of score he was going to get. It looked like he played that role in this trip. What did you see from him from a leadership standpoint? Is that something you think he's going to be able to take quickly too? Because I know it's something you're losing a few guys who filled those roles from last year.
There's no doubt that we're still tinkering a little bit with the leadership aspect of the team, because we don't have guys who've been with us that much, and they, sometimes guys are a little reluctant to step up and speak when they're still trying to learn within the system themselves. But he's not an extremely talkative person, but he leads by example. And he's talking much more now than he was at the beginning of the year. We probably still, our leadership probably still developing within this team a little bit. Right now, you got Matthew Cleveland and Caleb Mills that probably have assumed a little bit more of that responsibility than maybe some of the other guys, but we're still growing in those areas. And but we don't have any issues that concern me. I just think they kind of calling each other out. I think they kind of leading by committee. I think different guys are speaking up and more of an encouraging, positive type of environment, as opposed to one or two guys taking the lead and maybe just stepping out and being the lead dogs. I've noticed that probably Caleb and Matthew would probably have been the guys who have been a little more vocal of the returning guys.
Go to Ira Schoffel from the War Chant.
Hey, Coach, kind of on that topic, a lot of the most experienced players you have only been in the system for 1 year. But is it good? But is it good for them to now be teaching other guys? I mean, is that a good role for them to feel good about their knowledge, the fact that they're now helping younger guys in just their second year?
There's no doubt about that, because I think they realize, because we do win by committee and we do share the ball and we do share playing time, we realize how important us all coming together as a team. They realize how important that is, us coming together and playing to each other's strengths, creating for each other. But in that type of environment, you have to sometimes challenge each other, and we call it call out. We are consistently telling our guys, you have to call your teammates out when they have game slippage. Not necessarily anything that's negative about that. We have to consistently keep reminding guys of what they're supposed to be doing, because we have guys doing things that they've never had to do before. And when you have guys who, our defensive system is a little different than what they've done in high school, or even some of the other schools that they've been at. And it's a little more challenging for them than you would think. So they have to be reminded of when they lose their focus in certain areas.
Go to Chris Nee.
Hey, Leonard, how has Caleb Mills matured, and what's different about his game today versus maybe a year ago?
Well, I think we get more of the same. I think he's a little more comfortable from an offensive standpoint, maybe creating a little bit more, but he also is creating for his teammates a little bit more. I think he's finding people. He has a good feel for the game. I think he's worked hard on improving his defense. I think that he's allowed himself to, he's taken those challenges. Matter of fact, we tried to back him off a little bit so he wouldn't end up getting in foul trouble. But I think the first game, I think he got in early foul trouble, just being a little bit overly aggressive. But I think he's determined that he's going to accept that role a little bit. We have a pickup guy that picks the ball up 94 feet most of the time. And last year he wasn't the guy doing that, but I think he's kind of interested in looking and seeing whether or not he could be more of that guy that when we need someone, to pick up like that full court, that he can be a lot more contributor in the roles, kind of what Anthony Polite did for us last year. Anthony was an excellent guy who picked the ball up and kept pressure on the ball. And I think Caleb's trying to show us that he's capable of doing that, because he understands that's an important part of our defense.
Matt from Orlando?
Yeah, Leonard, you've got some young guys you mentioned as well. How do you does a trip like this really kind of help, maybe get them acclimated to what, maybe a little bit of what you're going to be doing, what they're going to experience on the road during the season?
No doubt about that. And I was interested in that we had two really, really good crowds for two of the games. And maybe almost packed houses for two games. And that created a little, opportunity for them to get a feel for what it's like going on the road, playing in these types of environments. But also, I think that was good for them to see what it's like, to play at the pace we would like. A very interesting thing is that, we had done very little scrimmaging before we left. We've been doing a lot of teaching, a lot of half-court stuff, and the most aggressive we've been. At times we've kind of gone down and back and down, then we turn it around and do something differently. Maybe 2 or 3 trips, and then we stop and we, turn around and do something different. But then they have to go back and forth. I think they saw what it's like, but when you're not in great shape, you get a better feel for, wow, how tough it is to play at this pace and be efficient. So that was good for them. Sometimes once you get past that 3.5, maybe 4 minute mark, the way we play can be a little bit challenging for you unless you're in great shape. Now, we don't expect to be in great shape in August, but I think our guys got a feel for the challenge that playing at the pace we like to play at presents to you, especially, when you play 3 games in 6 days, 4 games and 4 type of events in 8 days. You have a lot more respect for keeping your body with a lot of fluid, staying hydrated, staying flexible, doing a lot of stretching. You got an idea of what it's like to play in tournament type atmosphere that we're going to be playing in. We go down to Orlando this year. How the importance of rest and what you drink and how much rest you get and how eating properly. I think they got a good feel for that because in the game I could see a lot of guys really trying to push themselves because of how many activities we've had in a very short period of time, which I think also helped them to be a little more concerned about, staying in shape and going home and coming back and understanding that this is the pace we're going to be going at and this is how we're going to play. They need to be ready for it.
Go to Austin from the War Chant.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. With Jalen Gainey, I know a lot of times, you might get younger players and freshmen kind of coming into your defensive system, but what's it been like to work with him, someone who already has so much experience and so much production defensively at that level?
Gainey is a very conscientious young man, and it's been a little challenging for him because we're asking him to do things that he hasn't had to do in the other program that he's been in. We asking him to run the floor and get to a certain spot because it's important that he gets to the front of the rim if he doesn't get a rebound so that he can post up early so he can occupy a guard, and asking him to set as many screens as we need our center to set has been somewhat challenging to a guy who's basically been kind of a block-to-block guy, and so this has been a very challenge for him. The other night, I think last night he had a double-double, and I don't think he played that many minutes. Let me see. Might be the only stat sheet I got. 19 minutes and he had a double-double, but he plays with a tremendous amount of energy. He's going to be valuable to us because he's quick enough to defend point guards, even though he's 6'9", 6'10". He's agile and quick and mobile enough, but he hasn't had to. So that's a technique that he's going to have to embrace in order for us to get the most out of what potential he can bring to us. He's a very good shot blocker, quick off his feet. So he gives us a dimension that we welcome because we all know that people kind of pick on a guy like Naheem McLeod because he's not quite as quick, even though he's a good shot blocker and finisher around the basket. And with us switching 1 through 5, people automatically do that on the first play so that they feel that there's an advantage. They have a smaller, quicker guy that possibly can go by a bigger guy. Well, Gainey, along with Cameron Cohen, they're quick enough where they're not going to be getting blown by very much because they are very so athletic and versatile.
Next for Ryan Kelly.
Hey, Coach, just wanted to ask, where have you seen in this offseason from year 1 to year 2 the biggest gains from Matt Cleveland?
Well, Matt's improved his perimeter shooting tremendously. He has a slight foot injury, but nothing serious that keep him from doing anything. But he's really honed in on his release, and even though he's been missing some practices, his shooting touch has improved tremendously. He has a great feel for the game. He has one of the highest basketball IQs of anybody I've been around. So he is from a leadership standpoint and just from a perimeter shooting standpoint, I think he's made tremendous gains.
Is there a question from Dominic down there at WCTV? Okay, any follow-ups from anybody?
I just realized that's me. I'm recording on the other computer. That's why he's in. My bad.
Any follow-ups, Kurt?
I have another one. Yeah, if no one else has one. I know you talked about kind of the state of the front court, having only really 3 guys there. I know you have another guy arriving last week. Can you talk about how that kind of came together with Baba and how excited you are about bringing him in as the final piece of the puzzle as it was?
Well, Baba won't be here until about the time when school starts, so he's not with us now. We hopefully will be able to integrate him in when he gets here, and hopefully with the other guys being as far along as they are, they can help him accelerate his process. The fact that we've been working all summer, and he's very conscientious and anxious to get here and get started. So having him, sometime get with some of the other guys, even when we're not, actively coaching them, I'm sure the a lot of the returning guys will be anxious to try to answer his questions, and when they're in the gym playing pickup and stuff like that, maybe kind of help him, fit in a lot quicker.
Any more? Austin, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. One more, Coach Hams. Just with Chandler Jackson and Tom House, looked like they kind of got in the mix there and made some plays in those 3 games. What did you see from them, and how do you think they can help you this year?
I've been extremely impressed with Tom House, his basketball IQ, as well as Chandler Jackson. They are savvy players. They both come from winning programs where they're well coached. I'm very pleased with how they're learning. They're going through some of the similar things that most freshmen go to. But those guys have Gainey and House and Jackson, Cohen, along with Green, of all seem to make an effort to blend in. They're popular guys within our team, and they're excited. Bembry's been hurt. He hasn't practiced maybe 3 or 4 days, and Deontay Green is had an ACL in high school, so he probably won't be playing at all this year. We don't know what Bembry's status is, but he hasn't been able to practice at all in maybe 3 or 4 days. But I'm very impressed with our freshmen, along with Gainey.
What is Zoom going back?
Excuse me. So and we don't want to forget Cameron Fletcher, who showed flashes last year of being a major contributor. So we from a defensive standpoint, he was a little affected by dehydration along with McLeod. But we had our debriefing after the game. We had dinner, and I asked him how many guys were, felt the effect of that many activities in a short period of time, and most of them raised their hand. They were a little less energetic last night because of playing so many games in such a short period of time, which I think it was obviously a good opportunity for them to see what it's feeling like and what you have to do sometimes to overcome some of those days when you don't feel especially energized. But to answer your question, I think that Jackson and House, Jackson is definitely a point guard, in the house, is a really good shooter with a high basketball IQ.
Back to Ira.
Hey, Leonard, real quick, so what comes next for the guys? Like, is it individual work for a little bit, or how does the schedule work now?
Well, obviously, they're gonna go home and hopefully, spend some time with their families and kind of, re-energize their batteries. They've gone pretty hard this summer. We do want to encourage them to take some time off, and we don't want to burn them out. We want them to be strong in January and February. When we get back, we won't have very much activity for them, at least for 10 days or so, because we want them to, we've been going pretty hard spring and summer. We'll start conditioning around Labor Day. We'll go to the sand pitch and do a lot of running, a lot of low impact type stuff to develop ourselves cardio wise and not physically be taxing that much on their legs. But we're going to give them a little time off when school starts, maybe 10 days or so, just for them to get academically, and got some other things we want to do. And I think that'll be a good way to start the year off, being that we've been hitting it pretty hard in preparation for this tour.
Any more questions for Coach? Coach, thanks for your time. Travel safely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.